you are over 60 and you have noticed that your arms look a little thinner than they used to, that climbing stairs leaves you more winded than it once did, or that recovering from a simple bout of illness takes far longer than it did in your 40s. You are not imagining things, and you are absolutely not alone. What you are experiencing has a name. It is called sarcopenia, and it is one of the most widespread, most dangerous, and most underdiagnosed health crises affecting older adults around the world today. Here is the part that will shock you. Doctors and researchers have known for years that one of the most powerful tools for stopping this muscle loss in its tracks is not an expensive medication, not an extreme exercise regimen, and not a complicated supplement stack. It is a specific food, one that most people already have in their kitchen, eaten at a very specific time of day. That food is cottage cheese. And what happens in your body when you eat it every single night before bed will genuinely change the way you think about aging. Why this matters. Muscle loss after 60 is not a cosmetic issue. It is a medical emergency in slow motion. Sarcopenia, the progressive loss of skeletal muscle mass and strength that accelerates dramatically after the age of 60, is directly linked to falls and fractures, metabolic dysfunction, insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and overall mortality. Research published in the Journal of Cachexia, Sarcopenia, and Muscle estimates that sarcopenia affects somewhere between 10 and 40% of older adults worldwide, and that number climbs sharply with each passing decade. The average adult loses between 3 and 8% of their muscle mass per decade after 30, and that rate accelerates significantly after 60. By the time many people reach their 70s, they may have lost 30% or more of the muscle they had in their prime. This is not just about feeling weak. Muscle is a metabolic organ. It regulates blood sugar, supports immune function, protects bones, and literally keeps people alive longer. Losing it is one of the most consequential things that can happen to an aging body. The overnight muscle loss problem. To understand why eating cottage cheese specifically at night is so powerful, you first need to understand a phenomenon that most people have never heard of: overnight muscle protein breakdown. When you are awake and eating regular meals throughout the day, your body cycles through periods of muscle protein synthesis, which is the building and repair of muscle tissue, and muscle protein breakdown, which is the natural process of breaking down older muscle proteins. During the day, as long as you are eating enough protein at regular intervals, these two processes stay reasonably balanced. But here is the problem. When you go to sleep, your body enters a prolonged fasting state that can last anywhere from 7 to 10 hours. During this entire period, with no incoming protein to fuel muscle repair, the balance tips sharply toward muscle protein breakdown. For younger adults, this overnight deficit is quickly corrected at breakfast. But for adults over 60, the body's ability to respond to protein and stimulate muscle synthesis becomes significantly less efficient, a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. This means that older adults not only lose more muscle overnight, but also struggle harder to rebuild it the next morning. Every single night, without intervention, this process quietly chips away at the muscle mass that is keeping them strong, independent, and alive. Why cottage cheese is the solution. This is exactly where cottage cheese enters the picture, and the science behind it is remarkably specific. Cottage cheese is one of the richest dietary sources of casein protein available in any grocery store. Casein is a slow-digesting dairy protein that forms a gel-like substance in the stomach and releases amino acids gradually and continuously into the bloodstream over a period of 5 to 7 hours. This is fundamentally different from whey protein, which is absorbed rapidly in about 90 minutes, or from plant proteins, which vary widely in digestibility and amino acid completeness. When you eat cottage cheese before bed, you are essentially programming a slow, steady drip of muscle-building amino acids into your bloodstream throughout the entire night. Instead of your body going without protein fuel for 8 hours, it receives a continuous supply that sustains muscle protein synthesis while you sleep, directly counteracting the breakdown process. Research from Maastricht University in the Netherlands, one of the world's leading institutions in muscle metabolism science, has demonstrated in multiple clinical studies that consuming casein protein before sleep significantly increases overnight muscle protein synthesis rates. In one landmark study, older men who consumed 40 grams of casein protein before sleep showed measurably higher rates of muscle repair and growth overnight compared to a placebo group. Remarkably, this benefit was observed even without any changes to their exercise routine. The protein alone, timed strategically at night, made a measurable difference in muscle preservation. 1 cup of full-fat cottage cheese delivers approximately 25 to 28 grams of high-quality casein protein. It is also rich in leucine, the specific branched-chain amino acid that acts as the primary trigger for muscle protein synthesis in the body. Leucine essentially flips the switch that tells the muscles it is time to rebuild. Without adequate leucine, even a decent amount of protein may fail to stimulate meaningful muscle growth, particularly in older adults whose anabolic resistance requires higher leucine thresholds to activate the rebuilding process. Cottage cheese delivers leucine in abundance, making it one of the most strategically complete foods an older adult can consume before sleep. The additional nutritional benefits. Beyond its exceptional protein profile, cottage cheese brings a remarkable array of additional nutrients that specifically benefit aging adults. It is an excellent source of calcium, with 1 cup providing approximately 20% of the daily recommended intake. Calcium is critical not only for bone density, which declines in parallel with muscle mass after 60, but also for the proper function of muscle contractions themselves. Without adequate calcium, muscles cannot contract and relax efficiently, contributing to weakness and cramping. Cottage cheese is also rich in phosphorus, which works alongside calcium in bone mineralization, and in selenium, a powerful antioxidant mineral that protects muscle cells from oxidative damage. Perhaps most importantly for older adults, cottage cheese contains a meaningful amount of tryptophan, an amino acid that the body converts to serotonin and then to melatonin. This makes the pre-bedtime timing even more synergistic. Eating cottage cheese at night not only feeds your muscles while you sleep, but may also support the depth and quality of sleep itself. And sleep is when the body does its most intensive repair and growth hormone secretion. Deep, restorative sleep and adequate overnight protein availability work together in a powerful loop, each one enhancing the benefits of the other. How to eat it for maximum benefit. Incorporating cottage cheese into your nightly routine is easier and more enjoyable than most people expect. The simplest approach is to eat half a cup to 1 full cup of full-fat or 2% cottage cheese approximately 30 to 60 minutes before going to bed. Full-fat versions are preferable for older adults because the fat content slows gastric emptying even further, extending the protein release window and also providing fat-soluble vitamins that support hormone production. For those who find plain cottage cheese unappealing, a small handful of walnuts or almonds added on top provides healthy fats and extra leucine. A few slices of banana add natural sweetness along with potassium, which supports muscle function and reduces overnight cramping. A sprinkle of cinnamon adds flavor while helping regulate blood sugar overnight, particularly important for older adults managing insulin sensitivity. Some people blend cottage cheese into a smooth, creamy texture to remove the lumpy consistency entirely, making it feel more like a yogurt dessert. The key is finding a version you enjoy enough to make it a consistent nightly habit, because consistency over time is what produces measurable results in muscle preservation. Combining with resistance exercise. It would be incomplete to discuss muscle preservation after 60 without acknowledging the irreplaceable role of resistance exercise. Cottage cheese before bed is a powerful tool, but it works best when paired with regular strength training. Even light resistance exercise performed 2 to 3 times per week. Lifting weights, using resistance bands, doing bodyweight squats and push-ups, or attending a water aerobics class all create the mechanical stimulus that tells the body to prioritize muscle building. When that stimulus is followed by a night of casein-rich protein delivery, the combination is synergistic in a way that neither strategy fully achieves alone. Research consistently shows that older adults who combine resistance training with optimized protein intake retain and even build meaningful amounts of muscle well into their 70s, 80s, and beyond. Age is not a ceiling, It is a context that simply requires a more intentional strategy. Motivational conclusion. Here's the most important thing to take away from everything you have just heard. Muscle loss after 60 is real, it is serious, and it accelerates silently. But it is not inevitable. Your body, regardless of your age, retains a remarkable capacity to rebuild, repair, and strengthen itself when you give it the right tools at the right time. A simple cup of cottage cheese before bed is one of those tools. It costs almost nothing. It requires almost no effort. And done consistently, night after night, it delivers a continuous supply of the very amino acids your muscles are waiting for while you sleep. You have the power to change the trajectory of how you age. And it starts tonight with one small, delicious, science-backed decision before you close your eyes.